It started with a message. Just a small ping on my phone while I was making coffee one morning, the kind of sound you barely notice, but that day, it made my heart skip. I picked up my phone, expecting maybe a meme or a reminder from a friend. But the message wasn't from anyone I knew. Or, at least, not in the way that would have made me feel normal. It was from my wife, and it simply said, "I miss you." At first, I laughed nervously. I thought maybe she'd sent it to the wrong number. I mean, we were married for almost 6 years. Our routine was so predictable that even her texts were predictable. But my smile faded as I stared at the words. Something about the timing felt off. I had just left for work that morning. She was sitting in the living room, sipping her coffee. Right there. Not missing me. Not at all. I sent a quick reply, joking, "Who's this?" expecting her to laugh, maybe call me silly for being paranoid. But that's not what happened. She went silent. Not a ha-ha. Not a gotcha. Nothing. Just nothing. I felt that sudden, sinking kind of panic. You know the one, where your stomach flips and your brain won't shut up. I stared at the screen again, then at her. She was scrolling her phone like everything was normal, but something in her eyes was different. Distracted. Distant. And that's when the first little voice of doubt crept in, whispering, "What if this isn't just a mistake?" I tried to shake it off. Maybe she was texting an old friend. Maybe it was spam. But deep down, I knew that whatever it was, it had nothing to do with me. That same instinct that's supposed to keep you safe started screaming. For the rest of the morning, I couldn't focus. My coffee went cold, the news played in the background, but I wasn't listening. I kept glancing at her, trying to catch a hint, a tell, anything. But she smiled at me now and then, small gestures that seemed normal on the surface. And yet, something had shifted. Something invisible and heavy. By lunch, I couldn't take it anymore. I had to know. I swallowed my nerves and asked, casually, too casually, trying to keep my voice steady, "Who is he?" Her hand froze mid-scroll. She looked up at me. For a split second, I thought she was going to laugh, to shake it off, to brush it away. But instead, she went silent. Completely silent. Eyes wide, lips pressed together, as if she had just swallowed a secret too big for her to speak. And that's when the room started to feel smaller and the air thicker. My stomach sank into a pit I couldn't climb out of. Something was happening, something I couldn't yet understand, but I knew one thing for sure. My life had just taken a turn I wasn't ready for, and I had no idea how far it would go. Before that morning, I would have told anyone that our marriage was normal, maybe even enviable. We had a rhythm, a life that fit together like pieces of a puzzle. My wife, Clara, was everything I thought I'd ever wanted, sharp, funny, and impossibly patient with my terrible jokes. We weren't perfect, far from it, but we had routines that felt safe. Saturday morning coffees, Thursday night takeout, Sunday walks through the park. Simple things, but they made our life ours. I remembered when we first met, the way she laughed at the smallest things, how her eyes lit up when she talked about her job at the design firm. I was instantly drawn to her energy, her warmth. We were friends first, which I think made the shift to love feel effortless. Or so I thought. But marriage has a way of hiding cracks until they can't be ignored. And looking back now, I could see them, the tiny things I dismissed. The quick glances at her phone, the slightly distracted nods when I spoke. I convinced myself I was being paranoid, that life had made her tired, or maybe I had grown too clingy. You tell yourself that, over and over, because it's easier than facing the truth. The week before that message, she had been off. Not noticeably, at least not at first. She smiled, kissed me goodbye, told me she loved me. But when I looked closer, she seemed distant. There was a tension in the air, subtle but sharp. I asked her once if she was okay, and she just shook her head, said she was tired from work. I nodded, accepted it. Maybe I should have pressed harder. We had this unspoken trust, the kind where you believe your partner would never intentionally hurt you. I thought I knew her better than anyone else. That's why the text hit me so hard. It didn't fit into the life we'd built. It didn't make sense. "I miss you." From her, but not to me. I went through that day in a haze, replaying moments in my mind, searching for signs I'd missed. The way she answered her phone, the little flinches when it buzzed, the time she laughed at something on her screen without showing it to me. I tried to convince myself it was harmless, that I was imagining things. But a knot had formed in my chest, a tight, twisting knot that refused to loosen. By the evening, I was restless. We sat in the living room, the same space we'd spent countless evenings together, but it felt strange, foreign even. She was scrolling on her phone, and I could feel my eyes tracing her every movement. Something was happening behind that serene smile, something I couldn't yet see. I wanted to talk to her, to ask the right question without sounding accusatory, but I didn't know where to start. I felt a storm building in my chest, a fear I couldn't name. And then I remembered the message. My phone had that small, glowing notification, and with it, the unsettling thought that maybe the life I thought I knew wasn't real anymore. And just like that, the ordinary comfort of our home had shifted. The walls felt thinner, the air heavier, and I realized, with a cold certainty, that whatever was happening, it wasn't something I could ignore. Something was coming, something that would change everything. The next few days were unbearable. Every little thing Clara did set my nerves on fire. The way her hand lingered on her phone a moment too long. The way she sighed when I tried to start a casual conversation. The way her eyes darted to the window, as if she were expecting someone. I wanted to confront her, to demand answers, but something in me held back. Part fear, part disbelief. I couldn't accept that my wife, my partner, might be hiding something so enormous. At night, I found myself lying awake, staring at the ceiling, listening to the faint hum of the city outside, wondering if she had already told him she missed him. The thought made my chest tighten, and I hated myself for even imagining it. I told myself not to jump to conclusions, that I was letting paranoia take over. But when you sense a storm coming, denial only makes the lightning hit harder. One evening, she left her phone on the counter while cooking dinner. I tried to resist, to not look, but curiosity is a powerful thing. My fingers hovered over the screen. Just a peek, I told myself. But even as I hesitated, a little voice whispered that whatever I found could ruin everything. I shook my head and stepped away, but the tension didn't leave. It was suffocating. Then came the small, almost innocuous signs that gnawed at me like ants under my skin. A text notification she quickly hid. A call she stepped out to take, muttering it's work, but sounding distant. And that look, her eyes, when they caught mine, seemed to flash with guilt or fear. I couldn't tell which. It was maddening. Every conversation became a minefield. I tried normality, asked about her day, laughed at her jokes, made dinner together, but I couldn't shake the sense that we were pretending. Pretending to be the couple everyone thought we were, while something dangerous, secretive, and hidden thrived just beneath the surface. I started noticing patterns. The times she went to work late, the small discrepancies in her stories, the way she sometimes seemed to be on edge even when nothing was happening. And then there was the moment in the kitchen, when I casually mentioned an old friend's visit and she flinched, just slightly, but enough for me to catch it. My stomach sank. By the weekend, I could barely eat, barely sleep. I felt like I was walking through a house of mirrors. Everything familiar, everything supposedly safe, was distorted and fragile. I wanted to demand the truth, to pull it out of her no matter what, but fear froze me. I knew that once I confronted her, nothing would be the same again. And yet, I couldn't stop myself. There was a tension between us now, an invisible thread pulling us in opposite directions. I knew something big was about to happen, something that could either destroy us or tear open secrets we'd never imagined. I felt it in every glance, every word, every pause that stretched too long. Then, one night, as we sat quietly in the dim light of the living room, I noticed it, the small flicker of her phone screen across the room. A single message notification appeared. My heart froze. She looked at me, and I knew, just knew, that whatever was coming was about to explode. I thought I was prepared for the truth. I thought I could handle whatever secret Clara had been hiding. But nothing could have readied me for what came next. I finally confronted her that night, my voice trembling, my hands shaking, demanding answers. She looked at me, her eyes wide, almost pleading, and then she did something I never expected. She handed me her phone. I stared at the screen. The messages weren't just from one person. There were dozens, months of texts, pictures, and even voice notes. But it wasn't just flirtation or some casual affair. The texts, they were detailed, obsessive, and terrifying. Someone was watching us, following her, knowing everything about our life. And the last message on the screen made my blood run cold. "You're next." Clara's lips trembled. "I didn't want you to see this," she whispered. "I thought I could protect you, but I can't anymore." My mind reeled. This wasn't just a betrayal. This wasn't just a lie. This was something far bigger, far darker. Something that threatened both of us in ways I could barely imagine. And just like that, the life I thought I knew vanished. Every door, every wall, every familiar corner of our home suddenly felt dangerous. The nightmare was only beginning. That night, the air in our house felt electric. Heavy, tense, like a storm about to break. Clara and I sat across from each other in silence, the glow of her phone illuminating her pale face. I felt my heart hammering, my hands cold, my mind racing faster than I could think. Every instinct screamed danger, yet I couldn't look away. I need to know everything, I said finally, my voice low but firm. Who's sending these messages? Who's watching us? She swallowed hard, tears welling in her eyes. It's someone from my past. Someone I thought I left behind. I never wanted you involved, never wanted you to get hurt. But he found me. He knows everything. He knows you. Before I could process her words, her phone buzzed again. Another message. I'm inside. We froze. The front door had been locked, the windows shut. And yet, that single phrase carried a weight that made my blood turn to ice. My mind raced. How was this possible? Who could be inside? Suddenly, a shadow moved across the hallway. My pulse spiked, adrenaline flooding my veins. I grabbed the nearest object, a heavy vase, and crept toward the hall, Clara trembling behind me. And then I saw him. Not a stranger. Not some masked intruder. It was someone I knew, someone I trusted. The neighbor we'd laughed with, borrowed sugar from, shared small talk with. His smile was calm, chilling, as if nothing were amiss. You shouldn't have looked, he said softly, almost kindly. But now it's too late. Clara gasped, and I realized the depth of the danger. Every instinct screamed to protect her, to run, to fight. But he was everywhere at once, shadows in the corners, his presence like smoke curling through the walls. Then, the final, impossible twist hit me. This wasn't just about obsession. The messages, the stalking, the fear, it was all a test. A game. And the message that haunted me the most. I miss you. It wasn't sent to Clara, it was sent to me. Everything shifted. Everything I thought I knew about my wife, about our life, about trust, it shattered in a single, devastating moment. And in that instant, I realized the real threat wasn't outside the house. It wasn't even the neighbor. The real danger had been inside all along. The house was quiet again, though nothing felt normal. The shadows had receded, the intruder, our neighbor, gone, but the weight of that night lingered like smoke in the air. Clara and I sat together on the couch, hands entwined, neither of us speaking at first. Words felt too fragile to describe what had just happened, too small for the fear, the betrayal, the relief. Finally, she whispered, I should have told you everything earlier. I thought I could protect you, but I see now that silence almost destroyed us. Her voice cracked, heavy with guilt. I squeezed her hand. We're here now, I said softly. That's what matters. We survived it. Together. It took hours to piece together the full story. The neighbor, it turned out, had been obsessed with Clara years before we met. He had followed her quietly, leaving hints, building a presence she had only just realized was dangerous. The messages, the cryptic notes, even the stage sightings, they were all part of a twisted plan to terrorize her and, by extension, me. She had tried to hide it to keep me safe, never realizing that the truth would make the danger real. I felt anger, yes, but also a strange sense of understanding. Fear had a way of twisting people, of forcing choices they never wanted to make. And Clara, she had chosen to protect me, even if it meant risking her own safety. In the days that followed, we changed our routines, made sure our home was secure, and slowly, the tension in the air began to ease. The little habits that once felt ordinary, the Saturday coffees, the Sunday walks, took on new meaning. They became anchors, reminders that life could be safe again, that love could survive the shadows. But something had shifted between us, quietly and permanently. Trust had been tested, fear had been faced, and through it all, we had learned a truth that neither of us could ignore. The past isn't something you leave behind. It follows, lingers, sometimes knocks on your door. The important part is who you let in, who you hold close, and how you face it together. Late one evening, as I sat on the porch watching the city lights twinkle through the darkness, Clara came up behind me and rested her head on my shoulder. She didn't need to say anything. I felt the warmth of her presence, the quiet reassurance that despite everything, we were still us, still together, still alive. And though the memory of the messages, of the danger, would never fully disappear, it no longer held power over us. It had tested us, almost broken us, but in the end, it had also shown us the strength of what we had built. I realized then that some scars never fade, and some secrets remain. But the people who matter, those who stand beside you through fear, confusion, and darkness, are worth everything. And as the night settled around us, I finally allowed myself to breathe. Not because the danger was gone entirely, but because I knew we would face it together.